Today on the BCP Show, we talk with Marty McDonald. Marty says that too many people think social media will not work for their businesses, but there are more ways to use social than you might think, and some of them, they're going to surprise you. All that and much more coming up. You're listening to the Blue Collar Proud Show, and you, my friends, are in Proud Nation.
It's the Blue Collar Proud Show, the show for business owners who are building businesses they can be proud of. Because having a strong business means a better life for you and your community. That's what it means to be Blue Collar Proud. And now, here's your hosts, Carter Harkins and Taylor Hill.
Welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show. This is the show that is all about having and living the blue collar business dream. If you can dream a business that gives you everything you want in your life, you can begin the process of building that business. And Taylor and I want to be a part of that journey of your success.
We do.
That's the thing that gets us up every day and animates us, is the thought and the possibility that we get to bring you the information you need to help you reach your dreams and more of the success that you want in your life. My name is Carter Harkins. With me every week here is Taylor Hill.
How are you today?
Good.
Great.
So we're going to be talking with Marty about social media today.
Yeah.
It's going to be an interesting conversation, and it's not the typical conversation. So if you're thinking social,
Yep.
I'm telling you, I promise you, listen to this episode. Marty's great.
Yep.
And he's got some good things to say.
Good tips.
So tune in for that. Where we've been around the world, we just got back from Sandusky, Ohio.
We did. It was a fun trip.
It was this crazy, the event center, the place where we were for this particular thing. We were at the Mid-States Hearth Patio Barbecue Association, the Burn and Learn, as they call it, their annual conference. We keynoted there and then did another session, and it was a lot of fun just talking about different things going on in marketing and retention strategies. It was, but also just about business growth. And
but I have to say this. It was at a place called the Kalahari Resort.
Yeah,
it was pretty awesome. I mean, they're known for the largest indoor water park, and we got there late at night. There were just a few kids there. Then we got up the next morning, went downstairs to have coffee, and I looked at Carter and I said, We're in Carter Harkins hell. There were kids everywhere and loud. Oh my gosh! Yeah. And one of the people said, "Man, I'm just surprised because school's still in."
Yeah, it's like, what are they doing? It was field trips, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it started actually later that night or the night before when we checked in. I walked up to the front desk, and I'm telling them all the information, giving them everything. They're getting us our card, and they asked me, they said, do you want water passes? And I said, water park passes. I said, water park passes? What? It's like, well, yeah, the water park. It's like, there's a water park here? Yeah, it's the world's largest indoor water park.
I knew we were in trouble when I saw you go in the door, and there was a little elephant on one thing going through and then little bears on the other. I thought, oh, this is going to be fun.
So I couldn't tell. I mean, you walk in and it's all African themed, right? There's you walk across the bridge. There's this moat like thing or this river, I guess. And they're playing this like tribal drum music. Boom, 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 boom. Kind of stuff, and you're thinking tribal, and you get in and you walk in, and it's grasses from the Kalahari, and it's these.
It's actually a fantastic place.
Yeah, kids, absolutely geared for kids.
Yeah.
If you have kids and you're thinking, man, what is there to do in Sandusky, Ohio? Well, guess what? The world's largest water park is right here.
Yeah,
and it's the Sandusky Resort and Convention Center.
But the convention center was not
beautiful.
loud,
no.
and it was absolutely spectacular.
But you have to walk forever and ever.
Huge.
It's this massive thing.
Yeah, I mean, I bet it's got 3,000 hotel rooms. I mean, it's
plus the indoor water park, which is amazing. It really is something we got to look at. And we were there and we got to keynote and speak to some great people.
Yeah, it was fun.
I met a young guy that works for a company there. He's got experience on the tech side as well as the hearth sales side.
Yeah.
Just an interesting guy. I'm not going to tell you who he is. we've already communicated with him a little
Yeah,
bit. He sent us an email. I don't have his permission to read it yet, so we're not going to read any of it. And I'm hoping we can maybe have him on the show.
Yeah, it's really spectacular. And I hope we can have him on the show too, because I think his perspective as a millennial, he read our book.
Yep.
And, I am going to say this. He said we're pretty much spot on. And but he had some fantastic comments about how the book made him feel and working in the trades, and how the typical trades make him feel. And I think it's a really something that owners need to hear.
Oh yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
If you're in a business and you're trying to grow, that means that you're going to be hiring and leading millennials. We think it'd be great to bring him on the show, and just as someone, a young person in the workforce, to share what he would want in a business, in a business owner, to be led by a business, a blue collar proud business, and how much he wanted that kind of experience. I thought it was just a great conversation.
And the fact that I gave him the book on Monday evening, and we got emails today.
Yep.
I mean, so that's.
We don't have permission to share his name or anything else, so we'll get that and hopefully bring him on the show. Next up, we're actually going to we've still got speaking engagements here to go, and before we finish out the year, miles to go before we sleep, as it were. So the next one up is going to be the Southeast HPBA.
Yes.
I love the regional Hearth Patio Barbecue Associations, especially the Southeast HPBA. Just some great folks there.
Yeah.
And a lot of service businesses. It's a retail industry. It started as a retail association, but the trades have shown up, and the service businesses are there, and they're saying, "Hey, we want to participate in this. This is important stuff in the hearth and patio barbecue world." So, a lot of them at the Southeast HPBA. We're going to be there. It's at St. Simon's Island, a beautiful place in Florida.
Another gorgeous resort.
Yes. We're going to be there on June 9th. We're speaking that morning, early morning, early, 8 a.m. So 8 to 9:30. And we'll be doing that. So lots of coffee. I'll be awake.
Well, and I got to tell you, the only thing I'm sad about is we have to leave right after we speak, and it's my fault.
No, it's not your fault.
Well, it is. I'm going to my little grandson's birthday party. He's going to be 2, and so I got to fly to Colorado.
And that's important.
That is important. So
there's a quick trip.
That is why it's a quick trip, but we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's going to be good. So if you're in the Southeast HPBA and you're going to be at St. Simon's Island, Florida for the annual convention there, then make sure you stop by and chat with us, talk with us. We'll be bringing some books, signing books, and just talking with folks about their business. And look for us on June 9th. And if you can, join our class at 8 a.m. on June 9th. So you
realize that's only early to us. These guys are up.
Well, I've always said, I'm not a morning person. I'm a musician. I've always said if God wanted me to see a sunrise, he would have scheduled it later in the day. But that's okay. So I want to let me change here because I've got a review. We're getting reviews.
Oh, fantastic! Yay!
I know, right?
We're getting reviews.
This is I want to read this review. This is in iTunes, and it's a really good review. The subject of the review, he says, just good stuff, and the name of the person on the review, he's just saying his name is, he signed it Plumber in Myrtle Beach.
Awesome.
So thank you to, and it's a 5-star review, so thank you to Plumber in Myrtle Beach. And his review has actually got some constructive criticism, and I think that's important to read a review that has some criticism as well, because that makes us sharper. Mm-hmm. So here's the review. It's really short. Love the show and the guests. Would like to hear from more actual business owners and their tactical strategy. Would also drop any cute intro music to certain segments of the show, as the show is entertaining enough without it.
Well, there you go.
So I thought that was great. He wants more business owners, wants to get really into the tactical strategies of how they've grown successful businesses.
Okay.
And I'm hearing that. And we're not just hearing it from you. We're hearing it from many other people too. We are looking for business owners. In fact, I'm going to challenge you, Plumber in Myrtle Beach, because I don't have your contact information and I can't contact you directly. But if you're listening to this episode and I just read your review, I'm going to challenge you to come on our show. I want you to go to our website, bcpshow.com. There's a place on there where you can click to recommend a guest, and I want you to recommend yourself. Come on the show. Find something in your business that you feel like you've done exceptionally well, and tell other people about it. So become a guest. That's how this works.
That's it.
If you're thinking, nah, I'm not a good fit, or I don't know enough, or I don't feel like I'm expert enough, trust me, you are an expert in something. We want you to come on the show and share your perspective. So I'm just issuing the challenge.
Let's open that up to some of the other people that are listening.
Yes.
If, plumbers, sweeps, electricians, landscaping. If you're listening to the show and you've got something to say, let's get you on.
Absolutely. We're getting some good response too on so let me just first say, if you'd like to leave a review, you can do that on iTunes, just like Plumber in Myrtle Beach did. It's super simple to do. Open up the Podcasts app that's on your iPhone if you have one. Okay. If you're listening in iTunes, you can do that very easily. Open up the Podcasts app and then do a search for Blue Collar Proud Show. There's going to be some episodes that come up at the top of the screen in the search results, but then down below that is a larger icon for the BCP show. Click the larger icon and it'll open up a page that has all of the episodes that we've ever done, going all the way back to the beginning when we were still guys in trucks. Mm-hmm. There's a place to leave reviews as well on Android. But for iTunes, you can also do it just by clicking, by doing the search and then being able to click on the icon and be able to see the all of the episodes. And there's a reviews tab. Click on the reviews tab, and right there you'll be able to leave your message. If you're listening on an Android, you can also leave reviews in any of your favorite podcasts apps. But we especially want you to leave, if you listen in the podcast app from iTunes, on your Apple phone, that's where we're asking you to leave a review, because that is one of the most important places for us to be visible, to find more people who can listen to the show. So you'll be helping us out in a great way, and we'll read your review, even if it's constructive criticism.
Yes. And I just want to throw in, our book is still selling on Amazon, and we've gotten some really good feedback there as well. Yeah. So I've had a couple of personal emails just saying, man, this is really good. I've got one business owner that have said, we are retooling almost everything. We have decided we're going to follow your methodology because ours has not worked.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that's an email?
It was a phone call.
A phone call. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
and I don't have permission to share that either. But that was in a phone call, just a follow-up call that I was doing, which I do periodically with just random people.
Yeah.
And with that,
we've worked with hundreds of blue collar businesses. Yeah. Out of those hundreds of businesses, we have really brought down and distilled 10 specific principles that if you'll follow these principles, if you'll listen to the advice in this book, you'll begin building a kick-ass business that you can absolutely love.
Yeah. And and that's really the key. I've said this before, anybody can build a business. I've built some really lousy ones in my time, and I've seen a lot of other people. You can build a business. If you put your mind to it, you can build a business. But to build one you love, that really, to do it right, and so that you can have some time and freedom that you need, and just build it in a way that just is pleasant.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how great it is to come into our office on a daily basis, just whenever. I come in when I need to come in, and I know things are being taken care of, and it's freeing. And we got great people. I think they all know they're great. Got two of them sitting here, so hopefully they're shaking their heads. Yeah, we know we're great. But I hope everybody does. So, I just think it's just freeing. And that's what I want. I want people to be free. You take the time and effort to build a great business. I want you to enjoy and love and be free in that business.
So the number one thing that people say they cite as their reason for building their own business or going into business for themselves is more time and freedom to do the things that I want to do.
Yeah.
After 10 years of running it, you ask that same business owner, what's the one thing you wish your business gave you more of? And they'll tell you more time and more freedom is what I want this business to give me, and it's not. There's a disconnect. Mm-hmm. The biggest reason to go into business is the one thing you wish that business would give you after 10 years of running it. This is the way you get that kind of business.
Yeah.
The Blue Collar Proud, the book, the show, these are the things. And so I hope you'll go to Amazon and order that book today and tell us what you think of it too. Leave us an Amazon review. I can't leave this segment of the show without asking you as well to go and to our website, bcpshow.com. Right there on the homepage, there's going to be a pop-up window for a survey to tell us more about you as a listener. We've had people who are providing us information. It's absolutely rocking our world. Thank you so much if you've already taken that survey. You have no idea how helpful it is to know who's listening to the show and finding out more about you and what industry you're in, learning just a little bit more there. So please go and take that survey as well. I know we're asking for a lot of things, but these are all things that help us do a better job of bringing you more value in every single episode. We take you now to the front lines in the ongoing battles of blue-collar business. Reporting from the trenches are blue-collar proud advisors, coaches, and mentors leading the charge. Today's report comes from Kenny Chapman with Blue Collar Success Group. It's good to have you with us, sir. What are you seeing out there?
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. You know, one of the interesting things at the time we're recording that is awesome. I just met with a client and a friend of mine. Happened to be in Sonoma County, and he runs a small plumbing company and on his own, runs a few guys, does a lot of remodel, different things like that. And we sat around a campfire having a glass of wine the other night, and I had an aha that I want to share with our listeners, and that is that because I'm a business builder, I'm a grower, I love scale, I love traction, I love seeing things blow up. And my buddy that's a client just doesn't have that desire. And he's from Italy. His wife's from Greece. They have two lovely daughters. They're building a fantastic life and doing it differently than I would do it, right? So you're not your own customer. You got to remember that in the blue collar space, because we make decisions differently than our clients might make. But as an owner, it just so reminded me of how important it is to pay attention to what you really want, because I want an entirely different business than his. I haven't walked in my contracting business for 2.5 months right now, and I've got a leadership team that runs the day-to-day operation. That's not what he wants, and yet he's accomplishing his goals. He's living the dream of what he currently wants in life, and I think we need to really focus on that in the blue collar world, that you can do anything you want, but make sure you're doing what you want, not what your competitors are doing.
I think that's great advice, Kenny. And one of the things I'm going to ask you is this, because I think there's a lot of guys out there that's never stopped long enough to figure out what they really want. They seem to be, they see a guy like you, some of the other guys in their industries, and they think, well, that's what they should do. So give us a little bit of just some information on how you would advise somebody to stop and really figure out, what is it that I really want?
And thank you for that, because that I agree 100%. Here I am in the back. Literally yesterday on a wine tour, we drove by the hotel I stayed at when I got certified as an eMyth consultant back in 2000. I mean, it's been so long ago that I got certified as an eMyth consultant and taken that space. And I remember from that exercise, or as I was going through certification, you literally wrote your eulogy. So literally part of the heavy lifting that you do is you write, okay, you're in the box in the front of the room. You got family, you got friends, you got team, you got whoever there. What do you want to be said and about you? And you write your own. I was bawling. I was in tears. It was just like, oh my gosh, I've never really thought about what that looks like. Now, we don't have to get extreme and go all the way there. But what I realize is that we are so stuck in what Michael Gerber calls doing it, right? We're working in it rather than on it. And that's okay too. But what I'm driving for, and especially after hanging with Roman here last week or a couple nights ago, it's like, make sure that you take the step back, because whether you're running one truck or 150 trucks, I was just with a buddy of mine that owns the second largest plumbing, heating, air conditioning company in the United States, last week in Philly, and they have multiple locations all over the Northeast, whatever. And he's frustrated because they only grew by 10 million last year. Only grew by 10 million. And they didn't hit their number. They didn't hit their goals, right? And so you go from that, and then I come here with hanging with Roman, and he's running by himself, and his wife's answering the phone, but they're both living their dreams. And so to your point, I think it's so important that we take a step back. And, I came up the same way. You start looking at competition. I mean, for me, I started in a small market, and my competition had 4 trucks apiece, and I started. And then by the time I added my 3rd truck, they were running a truck less. So I had this mentality like there's only so many trucks in town, and we're just kind of passing them around. But I was making decisions based on their goals, wants, needs, and desires, which are probably not conscious anyway, because they're looking through the same lens. So you got to take a step back and go, this is about life, my friends. You guys know me well enough. This is about life, not business. Business is such an important part of life. But if we don't take a step back, we end up in that box in the front of the room 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now, whatever, going, what did I just do? Wow, I spent a lot of time doing what? Ask the question.
Yeah,
that's
good.
Powerful. That's good stuff. Take the time to ask, what is this really about for me? And then start intentionally and consciously building that business to reflect those goals and dreams. I think that's some of the best advice we've ever heard. Kenny, I know people are going to want to connect with you, sir. How would you send them to do that?
Just go to thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com, thebluecollarsuccessgroup.com, and we have a lot of freebies, a lot of giveaways, a lot of information there. We're just here to help blue-collar companies thrive in today's marketplace.
Thank you, sir. We'll check in with you again from the front lines.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
You've got questions. We've got answers.
We do.
That was almost Barry White.
You do that every week.
Not like that.
Well, I don't know.
Not with the smooth.
Was that more smooth than normal? Okay.
Smooth jazz.
Oh.
Okay. This is a good article, Taylor. You knocked it out of the park with this one. It's from one of our favorite sources, Help Scout. They're actually a help desk software that's really built for IT companies and online software support, customer support, but they just kill it. They're all about customer service, providing high levels of customer service. And we are all about high levels of customer service and anywhere that we see it and bringing that into the blue collar world. And this article really kind of does that.
Yeah, I was really, really pleased with how it intersects with everything. It's not just, sometimes they'll put out an article and they're good, but it really is kind of not relatable. But this one I felt like really was. I mean, there's some things about customer support, customer service that I thought was really important. And the first one that kind of took me back was the fact that, and we've said this, with customer service marketing, which is probably going to be a book one of these days. Everything is about customer service. Yeah. Everything is about customer support. So your entire team has to know how to do it. I mean, it's no longer this department or a person that you send everybody to. And so as owners of businesses, if we understand that if our entire team is trained on how to support a customer, how to take care, serve a customer well, how to take care of problems and manage problems, how to, to take a difficult situation and kind of decompress it, if you will, and, lower it from a 10 to about a 4 to where you can have a discussion. Empowering people to do that literally takes it off you to be the one that always has to step in and deal with excuse my language, crap.
Yeah. So you just said it, empowering your people to solve problems.
Yeah.
That's the number one complaint in any customer interaction.
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't matter what industry you're in, what product or service you have. When a customer calls and they need help, their number one complaint is when the person who they're talking to on the phone says, well, that's not my department, because what they hear is, it's not my problem.
Yeah.
In other words, you're not important to me, and I don't know what to do to help you, so I'm going to kick you over to somebody else, who's then going to kick you over to somebody else, who's then going to kick you over to somebody else, and you're going to play the phone tree game for a while until somebody, and everybody has had this experience, right? Most of the time you have it in big corporate corporate businesses and call centers and things, but even blue-collar businesses, small businesses, have that same issue. And there's two things that go on. Either the owner is answering all the phones, and the owner says, well, I can't help you with that right now. In other words, I'm the guy that needs to help you, but I'm too busy to do it, right? And that's a big problem for blue-collar businesses.
Yeah.
The other problem is when you have customer support representatives in your business who are answering the phones for you, there's not a clear protocol in place for that person who answers the phone to own the problem.
Right.
And so they kick it down the field to somebody else who then can't deal with it quickly. And it's frustrating for the client.
Yeah. And that's really the bottom line here. When you're talking about customer support or customer service, everybody knows that things are not always going to go 100% smoothly. Okay? And there are a small percentage, probably 2 to 5% of the population that go from 0 to 10 with no provocation whatsoever. They're just, if it doesn't happen the way that they think it ought to, they're just ticked, But everybody else, there's understanding. And sometimes it's just listening to somebody. The best book, I actually have it right here, that I think every single person and every single owner should read is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now, I've read this book twice, and I've now listened to it twice. It is the best book on how to treat people, and it will help you understand how and what you can do, help your team understand what they can do to help your customers. All right. And it really is about helping your customers. Sometimes it's about helping your customers understand that there's a problem that you can't fix, or there was problems before you did anything. And if you remember, we said we would try. There's a lot of different things. But I think that book, and it's a Dale Carnegie book, is a timeless book that could help anybody with really getting to the core of relationships, because it really is about relationships.
Yeah, relationships, and that is a timeless subject, like you said. But let's dive into some of the technological stuff that this article talked about. One of the things that came up in the article was that more and more customers are expecting to be able to solve their own problems using the resources that you provide.
Yes. Which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah. I mean, obviously a technician has to come out to a home to diagnose certain problems and things like that. But homeowners want to participate in helping get the right person to their door and give that person what they need to get the thing done as quickly as they can. So there's actually a real cool thing going on here. And a lot of these are millennials that are saying, as customers, they're saying, I want to help you solve my problem.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, right? I want to tell you what the problem sounds like. If you're a mechanic, I mean, the first thing you're going to ask when it gets in, when you're having a phone call with somebody or talking to somebody is, well, what does this sound like? Is it a boom, 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 or is it more of a kind of a sound, right? So, it helps to begin the process of diagnosing. Millennials want to be able to help the person that they're talking to. And first of all, they're more likely to want to go and find that information for themselves through other things like videos, through frequently asked questions sections on websites, things that give them education and prepare them, give them more knowledge about what's really going on. Now, eventually they're going to decide this isn't a problem I want to solve. I need an expert. But when they have that conversation, they'll be more prepared to understand why you're an expert and why you can help solve their problem and why it costs what it costs.
Yeah. And, and it's a great place to put information on a website so they can help to do that. I mean, that is, have a YouTube channel with some videos, of how things are broken, what this is, what that is, maybe something that you can do. I mean, if it's a plumbing issue, what can you do really, really quick to and still have your water running? Is there something that you can do and not wait too long to call a plumber, but at least you can patch it to where you can take a shower, or whatever tips and tricks that you got, those kind of things. It's perfect for that.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, these are generations, and I say that, but I do it too.
Sure.
I mean, I go online all the time and try to find stuff and look, and my wife and I are always looking and, how can I do that? And I wonder how to do this, and looking at videos and whatever. I mean, everybody does it now because information is at our fingertips, called these smartphones.
Yeah.
And so no matter where we are, we can get that information. So more and more of us are doing that. So put it out there. Just put it out there.
Put it out there. I think one of the people that has done one of the best jobs with that is our friend Clay Lamb in Cincinnati with American Chimney.
Mm-hmm.
But he's built this brand called Ask the Chimney Sweep.
Yep.
And it's an online brand. It's YouTube videos. He's got a podcast now that, he's answering questions that people have about my chimney system. Consumers have questions about this big chimney system that's mostly hidden from view. And yet it's this crucial component in my home that if it's used improperly, or if it's damaged and I don't know it, then the fire that should stay in its place, get it, fireplace, then, it's out of control and it could burn my home down. So people want to know. And what I'm betting, I mean, he's got millions of downloads on his YouTube.
Yeah.
So I know people want this information, and he's out there providing it. I'm thinking there's really some opportunity here. If you're going to provide information, help people self-diagnose what their problem is, help people help themselves, and they'll choose you just out of pure gratitude for helping them.
Yes. I think it's great.
Yeah.
So, I think these are opportunities that everybody has, and we'll just see who takes advantage of it and who doesn't.
Yeah. Just putting that out there.
Just putting it out. Yeah.
It was a great article. We'll put the link in the show notes, and keep bringing them, Taylor. Good stuff. Our guest today is co-founder and CEO at Bad Rhino, a full-service social media marketing agency based in Westchester, Pennsylvania. He's used social media strategies and internet marketing strategies to actively build online marketing businesses for 14 years. He quickly realized the power of social media in recruitment marketing for small businesses, and since 2003, he's consulted with small businesses and startups to help them succeed online. So let's get social with our guest today, Marty McDonald. Hey, Marty.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good. Thanks for being on. Social media is one of those things that we talk about a lot, but it's, there's still the person out there listening who's going, yeah, whatever. It's a fad.
Have time.
I don't have time for this. Talk to that guy for a minute, Marty.
It's funny because we hear that all the time from small business, even mid-sized business. We work with a wide variety of companies, and it comes down to that. It's like everything else in life is, it comes down to how much time you want to put into it. And social media is not much different. It's a labor-intensive marketing. And what I mean by that part is not only do you have to come up with the content, then develop a strategy behind it, and then publish it, and then push it out there, but then you also have to respond. Then there's like taking the data from the responses that you get, plus any ads that you're running, figuring out if something's going to work for it, and then trying to do it again. And it becomes this thing where it becomes this cloud over your head, especially for small business owners. But there's a lot of little things that you can do if you're doing it on your own that can make it easier for you. If you're not ready to outsource it, if you're not ready to hire somebody internally and you're that one-man band, there's a lot of things that you can do just to follow along a schedule and make sure things are rolling. But I totally get it. It's like this big time-consuming thing, but all the marketing that you see around social is like, oh, it's easy, set it and forget it type stuff, and it's really not the case. So I feel that pain. We work in that pain quite often in helping small business owners, whether we're consulting or just helping them out, telling them little things like this on a podcast, or working for them.
So one of the things that I hear all the time is there's just no ROI in social.
I love it.
So talk a little bit about that.
Well, I've been in business for 7 years, and I have an agency that's focused on social media. So if there was no ROI in it, I wouldn't be in business. So that's my first one. You know, most of the time when I talk to small business owners, doesn't matter what industry they're in, they don't know anything about where their business is coming from. And that is a big red flag. And that's not good. They'll say, oh, yeah, we get a lot from referral. That's awesome. Love referral. Bad Rhino was built on referral. And I'll be like, okay, great. So where are these referrals coming from? Because if it's just you did 20 jobs last year, let's just say 20 big jobs, and you're a landscaper, let's say, and you did 20 patios. And did you get 20 this year? Well, no, we got like 3 or 4. Well, where did the other ones come from? Not really sure exactly, but so-and-so called, and so-and-so called, and then we got this job, and we're still doing okay. Well, okay, so do you have any sort of marketing plan? So before you come out with the ROI, you better know where all your other stuff's coming from first. And that's where I start out, and that's where my team starts out. In working with a small business owner, because you come at me with the ROI question, I'm going to ask you the ROI question right back, and you better have an answer before you come at me with that garbage.
Yeah,
I love that.
because it's absolutely true. Most people have absolutely no idea where their business is coming from. They know they're getting it, but they don't know where. We deal with that a lot because we deal in local optimization, and it's a lot like social. You know, if you're not tracking it, and how do you track it? You ask people how they found you. That's how you track it.
I love when I get that because I know right then and there, I have a business owner that's thinking along the right way, because you should be looking at your ROI. But then also, once I get into it, I'm like, you guys don't have any data, and you need to start really focusing on that, because the new person that's coming up that is focusing on that data, they're going to eat your lunch.
So let's talk for a minute about this is a trend. We see it in the marketing statistics and facts and figures that get released every year. More and more consumers, especially consumers of services, go online and look not only at like Google reviews or Yelp reviews or Facebook reviews, but they also start looking at the social media profiles of the businesses that they're considering hiring for a local service. And they're looking for those cues, right? They're looking to see, is this a company that is friendly? Do they have engagement with their customers? And what does that engagement look like? When there's a complaint and that complaint happens through a social channel, are they responding in a timely manner? And how do they respond to that? Social media is just as much about a customer care channel as it is about anything else that it could be used for. Talk about that.
Yeah, and you're 100% correct. It's a communication tool first and foremost. It's labeled social media for a reason. It's social. That's what you want to be known for. You want to be able to interact with your customers and clients. And 7 years ago when we started, it was a little bit different. It was still that like two-way conversation that you're going to have, but your strategies were a little bit different. Organic reach was easier. The quick referrals were a little bit easier. Now, exactly what you said is 100% true. People will go to Google, and this is what we see quite often when we really get in with a client and ask them, okay, well, let's talk about this sales funnel and how we got this customer. And what they'll tell us is they went on to Google and said leaky faucet, and they went and they're like, I don't know anybody. I'm new to this town. Obviously, I'm making this up, but there's some much needed truth to be heard here about how social fits in here. They'll say leaky faucet, found a plumber, open 24 hours, called Joe's Plumbing. They came out. But before I called, all I did was do a quick search on Facebook. And I saw my neighbor or my friend or my cousin was already liked the page. And that was enough for me to make that decision. They didn't go any further. So it's a combination of things. Going back to the ROI question that we just talked about is, when we work with customers and clients, we want to make sure that they understand this full piece of marketing. Social media is not the end all be all. And I don't kid myself in saying that. It fits into a certain piece in your marketing wheel that you have to address, because people do follow that for validation. And it's no different, and I use this analogy all the time. If, back in, let's say 1960, we'll just pick a date and time, you're sitting there and you're around a barbecue and with all your friends, and you say, I need an accountant. And your buddy turns to you and goes, oh, yeah, you need to talk to Mark. And Mark is the best accountant I ever had. And I'll give you his number. And he writes it down on a piece of paper, hands it to you. And now you already had social proof right there. Now it happens instantaneously, where they go and they see, okay, hey, Joe's Plumbing has this Facebook page. I already found them on Google. My cousin already likes them, gives me validation. Boom. I'm already calling them, and they're coming out to fix my leaky faucet.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point. We deal in organic search world all the time, and I've told people, over the last couple of years, ranking isn't all what it used to be. And part of it is the social proof, which is exactly where the social channels come in to play, as well as social proof and all the reviews that are out there. I think both those things go hand in hand. Because as people search, you never know where they come in. They may come in on a social network, end up on your website, and end up in a review form of some kind, whether it's Yelp or Google or whatever, and finally decide, yep, you're their company. Mm-hmm. There's also people who can come in on Facebook, look at your Facebook profile, see your reviews on Facebook, and then say, yep, you're my company.
Yep.
It's because you don't know exactly where they're going to come in online, and there's so many places they can come. It's really tough covering all those bases. So talk a little bit about covering the social bases, because there's a lot of them, and they seem to keep popping up.
I know, it's crazy. And it's so funny. It's nice to talk to you guys about this, because in the way you're phrasing it, because you have, just to back up just a hair here and just take a little aside, you get those clients that talk to you about traffic, right? And they're like, oh, we need traffic. And then it's like, okay. Then they get traffic, right? And let's say some of it's converting, but you're still going through your process because it's early on, traffic is hard to a degree, but it's also relatively easy when you know what you're doing. But it's that first part where you're like, wow, you guys are getting a lot more views, a lot more web visits, but let's talk about a little bit more about conversion. But they're happy that they're getting traffic. Mm-hmm. And then like, next thing you know, it's like, okay, we're going to introduce something else. And then they get more traffic, but then they're like, well, we got a spike here on Saturday. Why did we get one? And you just kind of look at them and go, I don't know 100%, but we're working through some things, and it's like all these little questions. So when you do go backwards through where somebody came through, the biggest things are looking at social media presence and knowing where your audience is the key. So some people be like, Snapchat, we saw it, it's the greatest thing, we want to do more to it, do more with it, do more things to it, like make us robust. And it's like, well, you deal mainly with 50-year-old people, right, and you're a financial planner. None of them are on Snapchat.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So they could get this like idea in their head, and part of it's because of different media outlets and the buzz around it. And I understand it. It used to, there were certain things that used to just pop up that you're going to chase a shiny object. And in some cases, it's important to not dismiss it entirely, but you need to know where your audience is. So what we do is we start out, and I'm big on following the money. So if you're public, they have to respond to stockholders, and they're going to make sure that they're somewhat successful so that their ad revenue comes up, that they have happy customers that are advertising on their networks. So Facebook and Twitter were the first two, and we still use those in different capacities for just about everybody. The third one is Instagram, in the fact that it's owned by Facebook and is very popular, and you can do a lot of things with it, but it's also on the Facebook ad network, which is pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. Then you have a hodgepodge of others, and we could talk until probably next Tuesday on which ones they should be in. Should you be on some of the small little niche sites that are based on your industry? There's validity to that. Should you be here? Should you be there? What I tell everybody when we first start with them, and if they're a new business owner just starting out, and if you're doing it yourself, this applies to you as well, is first claim your real estate. So go through, claim Facebook, Google, even Google Plus now, but you want to get a Gmail account that's tied to your business. You want to go through Instagram, Twitter, and the main ones that are out there right now, and just claim your real estate. But get good at one of them. And if I had to suggest one, just because by sheer volume, I'm going to tell you Facebook. Get good at it, understand the ad network, and get really good and create a great Facebook page. Then start to expand, and that's very key. And is to tie this all together, when you do start tracking more and you put more things around your analytics and you're looking at different things that you're doing, you will start to see patterns. And it's not overnight. It's not like, hey, I just started a Facebook page on Monday and Tuesday I have all this data. You're going to have to do some testing. You're going to have to do some ad work. You're going to have to spend some money and time to make it all work. But that data that comes back can be worth its weight in gold once you start to see it. And tying into a robust, say, local search with SEO and or Google AdWords can turn into a very powerful thing for a small business of any kind.
Yeah, boy, that's good. Mm-hmm. All right, let me talk about content for a minute. Some of the strategies around, what to share. One of the biggest mistakes I see with especially service businesses, well, I see it with product, retail businesses as well, but since we focus a lot on the blue-collar trades, it's this shouting that they do on social media, shouting at their people, hey, special, 10% off if you book early, book the today or whatever. So it's just constant messaging, advertising, and it really doesn't do much to connect. So I guess if I had to phrase my question quickly, it would be cat videos, yes or no?
Yes,
no, I vote dogs. Dogs.
There you go. See, you guys just did it in 1 second. Exactly what I was going to do. I love it. So what I was going to say is, like, if you love cats, and that, we have a dog here in the office. My partner has a dog, Walter. It's a French bulldog. He's got a ton of personality. He's also lazy, but we all love him, and he's cute, but being that, we have him, or my partner has him, and he's in the office, we do promote him, and we use that to just create some content around there. But what I see what people do is they grab onto what they think is going to work, right? Mm-hmm. So they're like, well, if I put this cat video out there, I'm staying with the theme of cats, even though I don't like cats, everybody in my business doesn't like cat. We don't have a cat in the office, but I think it'll get some engagement and all this. And then they wonder why it doesn't convert to anything. On the flip side of that, what you said earlier was I see a lot of small businesses that just sell. Then they take a pause. Then they sell. And it's 10%, like just like you said, 10% off here. We have a special for Memorial Day. We have a special for 4th of July. But they never get down to the reasons you should buy. They're just selling on price. And we all know that doesn't work. It does to a certain extent, and it will get you a certain amount of business. But then you just get price shoppers, which are never good for any business. So what you need to do is come up with a content calendar, and you can include cat videos or dog videos depending on what you are, but it's got to be true to who you are. We do a lot of different business with a lot of different companies at Bad Rhino, but the one thing that we do is we promote our interests of who we are, who our team is, what we do, and those a lot of time get the more engagement. But then what we find out is 6 months down the road, when we have a small business contact us that's local or even a larger one, they'll say, hey, we saw a picture of your interns out, and they were out at a restaurant and they were having a good time, and they were posting pictures of food, but also posting pictures of themselves. And we found that pretty interesting of you as a company. And that's what you need to do, is figure out who you want to be online, what that voice is, and start to market that versus just 10% off here. Look, the salesy stuff has a place, a time and a place in your strategy, but it can't be all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
People don't want that anymore. I mean, there was a time, you mentioned the 60s, so we'll just go back to that decade for a minute. All that a company was a nameless, faceless place to go get goods or services. And you believed anything that company told you about themselves and about their products, and you simply consumed whatever it is that they gave you and gave them a call, and took what it was that they had. Today, people want to know about you, about who are the faces and the names behind the company. I want to put a face with this. I want to know, do they eat and shop in the same places I do? Do they care about the community the way I do? Do they have a dog at the office? You know, what's its name? Yep. And by the way, tell Walter hello, because we're a dog-friendly office here as well.
We are. There you go.
You know, so that's what people crave. That's what they want. And it becomes a convincer, I think. It becomes the thing that people sometimes go, I'm going to choose this company. I could get plumbing from anybody, but Walter, you know, or whatever it is. I mean, there's that draw, that connection.
Yeah, and that, what you just described is, in my opinion, what social media does and how it fills in the gaps in your marketing. You know, like you mentioned, like the products that you would see way back in the day, and the advertising behind them is, all right, so 9 out of 10 doctors recommend Winston cigarettes. Cool, I'll smoke Winston's, right?
Yeah.
Well, nowadays you have access to all this other information, so not only are you not going to smoke, but you're also going to be like, well, 9 out of 10 recommend it and question whatever. But, you know, what you just said with the plumbing is, you know, perfect. Like, I can go hire a plumber from anywhere, but I know a little bit more about you. I feel like I know a lot more about you. And that's why I'm very big, you know, as a company ourselves, as well as working with our customers, is don't be afraid to share a little bit more. And the first part of it is very daunting for everybody. And I can relate to it. I mean, I just put my first book out, and it's a little nerve-wracking when you throw yourself out there in that capacity. Like, who am I to write a book, and who am I to do this? And you start thinking that. And I know a lot of small business owners do that. And, you know, in the blue-collar world too, they're team guys and girls, you know, and they want to work and do well, but they also understand that if I'm building a house, I may not be able to do all of the things. I might know a lot of them or how to, but I can't do it. My specialty is carpentry. So I'm going to frame out the walls and then do all the finish work once we're done. But I also know the drywaller is going to come in, the flooring guy is going to come in, the painter is going to come in, and she's going to also recommend something else on the design of everything and what's everything's going to look like. So they're team people. So it's hard to put yourself out there as that, but you should want to show your personality and understand what your voice is online, and social media can do that for you.
So I have a quick question, because we do, you know, a lot of times in the blue collar world, people are a little bit older, and a lot of them really do have privacy concerns. I mean, they have this sense that I just don't want everybody up in my business. So how do you? I mean, I know that I've talked to some. And I'm not saying this. It's easy to say, well, you just need to get over it, and this is just part of something you're just going to have to live with and do, because this is the way marketing is today. Well, that's great to say that, but these are people that really have some angst about it, and they have really concern about it. So how do you talk with them about the difference between having a personal Facebook page and a business Facebook page?
So the one thing that I'm going to say is exactly what you just said. Is I'm going to tell them, first off, they have to get over it. But they don't have to think of it like they're just burying their soul every day online, okay? So if you, without going into detail, if you did research on me and my personal life, there's not a lot you can find online. Okay. And I've done that by design. But if you want to search my business and my profile around business and everything else, there's a lot more and then some. I'm very transparent that way. But there's also certain things that I don't share because I don't want it out there for a variety of reasons. And those are personal things. I have a love-hate relationship with social. Anyone that's ever worked with me over the past 15 plus years just doing internet marketing and then going into social media marketing, they'll know that. And they'll say that, yeah, like Marty is like loves social from a marketing standpoint, but hates being personal about it. So the first phase of it is you got to get over it. I'm sorry. If you're, say, and I'm just going to throw out an age there just to mark this, to just illustrate it. If you're a 60-year-old person, you have a great business, and you're looking to do 5, 6, 7, even 10 more years of running that business, and you're concerned about social, and it doesn't matter what business are, there's a 30-year-old that's coming up that doesn't care, and is just going to come and steamroll you. So I know a lot of people. I'll be 42 soon. I know a lot of people that have those privacy concerns, but they also see it from the other side, and they're just constructing their life to understand that this is a different world. So get over it. And unfortunately, it sounds harsh, but it's the truth, because I see some of these people, and millennials aren't lazy. And a lot of them are coming up, and the group right behind the millennials are more ambitious than I've ever seen in a long time. And I tell a lot of our older clients and people that I consult with to get over it, and in some way, shape, or form, like, start to figure out how you want to do this, because you don't want to spend your last 5 years in business or 10 years in business before you go in retirement scraping by. Get on with it and go for it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of harsh, but you can also put a lot of precautions in there, and you can put a lot of things in there that you don't have to share everything. You just have to create a persona and a voice online that you can market to that represents you and your business appropriately, but you don't have to say everything.
All right, that's excellent advice. I think that's, get over it is part of the equation, but it's also realizing that to avoid social media, to do so is to do it at your peril.
And the last thing I'll say, not sorry to cut you off there, is 7 years ago, I would say you could avoid it. In 2017, when we first started out, I could say you could avoid it. Now you can't. You can't.
So Facebook just released, their hiring pages and the ability to put now hiring up on, for companies to be able to find their next good hire. That's one of the biggest issues that we see in blue collar industries. And I know that especially millennials, younger people who are already socially engaged, have been using social media as a way of understanding the opportunity of working for a particular company for a long time. They're considering putting in an application with a particular company. They're going to go look at that company's online. They're going to read the reviews about that company. They want to know, is the guy I'm about to go work with a royal pain, or is he a really fair businessman? Am I going to be treated well? What do his employees have to say about working there? All of those things become kind of the research, just the standard starting place for someone coming in and looking for a company that they may be wanting to apply with. Are you seeing that as well? And what is your advice to a company who is having trouble finding good people and isn't being social?
So for the first part of my career, I was a headhunter. So I got to tell you that I worked in different areas of corporate America in hiring people and interviewing people. I've interviewed over 10,000 people and hired over 1,400 in jobs. So when I chuckle about this all the time, because good talent's hard to find, and I used to steal good talent from other companies and move them around. And people would be angry about that. Like, how dare you steal my project manager? And I would be like, well, if you treated your project manager right, he wouldn't have taken my phone call. Flat out. Like,
yeah.
like no offense, like, screw you. Like, the issues they told me were totally different. So as a business owner, what you want to be able to do is provide an environment, good, bad, or indifferent, that people can jump into and be productive in, not only for you, but for themselves. And when you are looking for people, and it doesn't matter what industry or job, is that you need to be able to project how you project online and how you do your marketing and how you do other things. It better be coherent throughout your entire business. So if you're marketing and on your website it's talking about, this is what we do, we're looking for a master plumber, and we do jobs like this, and this is why we want them, and we want a person that is ready to take the next step and manage jobs and have a couple of people that are working for them and do all that, and then they get in there and it's just a sweatshop, so to speak, where they're doing all the work as a master plumber rather than having other people come through. They're going to leave. And not only are they going to leave, but they're going to tell everybody else that, hey, this was a lousy job. And that's just to illustrate one little microcosm to it. But what I found over interviewing all those people and hiring all those people, and it doesn't matter the type of company, you just have to be true and you have to treat people right. And it's as simple as that. It sounds like, oh my gosh, well, just treating them right, sounds like a simple answer, but it's the truth. We used to try and pull people out of different companies where you knew the next career step was very much right in front of us and with our agency or company or whatever. And they would just say like, no, like I have all that here. I might not have the prestige. I might not have the best opportunities that are coming in from what you guys are doing, but they treat me right. I'm happy. They pay me right. They pay me fairly. The jobs that they put me on are all things that give me satisfaction. It's hard to compete against those things. If you are not doing those things, then you have bigger issues in your business than anything on social media is ever going to help you with. So just be honest and be good in those terms. And a lot of those things tend to work out very well. Now, if you're looking for people with skill sets, that's a totally different thing, because people with certain skill sets are hard to find. So there's only X amount of them that are around. And if they're getting paid well, why are they going to go to another place where they're just going to have a change of curtains and a different floor pattern when they walk in, but they're doing the same work? So there's a very complex thing, but it's something I could talk about for the next 3 hours if you wanted to, in where those things come in. But the social media aspect and all the other things really don't matter a hill of beans to any of it, because ultimately these people are going to stay with your company because they feel something about it, and actually do good work. And if you treat them right, they're going to stay.
Yeah. We say it all the time. People don't quit jobs. They quit people.
Exactly.
They quit bad bosses. They quit teams that are dysfunctional. They quit, misery and culture. They don't quit jobs.
Yep.
And, but social media is one of the indicators. It's one of the factors that it's a quick way of understanding and looking in, peering past what a company says about itself and what the opportunity is. With a now hiring ad, now I can see a little bit deeper in, and I can see that the accountant every Friday is posting, oh my gosh, this is so stressful. And you're wondering, why is it stressful? Because Fridays are paydays, and, does that mean they're having trouble making payroll? What's the deal? I mean,
right.
Those kinds of things can be indicators. And I know a lot of people that spend a little bit of time looking there before they go.
People absolutely do. And they do it very on the sly. People have gotten very smart and they're very savvy, and there's a lot of Google searches you can do to do that. And I've consulted on small business hiring before I started Bad Rhino, and even a little bit during our first few years. Clean that stuff up and make sure that you're focused on treating those people right, but know where those deficiencies are and just fix them. If it's a pay thing, then figure it out. If it's a benefits thing, then figure it out. I know it sounds simple to say that. And as a small business owner, I have a lot of costs that I don't like that are associated with that. But at the same time, it can save you tons and tons of headaches, because you have an open environment where somebody comes to you and just goes, Tom, I haven't really liked working for you, but I got to be honest, the $25 an hour you're paying me, I just got an offer for 32, and it's just the difference between me sending my daughter to a different school and here. If you have an environment where you can invite that conversation, you can head a lot of things off at the pass before they become an issue where, that person just says, hey, Tom, I'm out of here on Tuesday, sorry, and they leave you in the lurch, which kills small business owners because it just hurts so bad from trying to fill in that work. So
yeah, it can cost upwards of 200% to replace an employee. 200% more than what it would cost just to be able to keep an employee, to replace that employee. So it's huge. And in the skilled trades, it can even be more than that because they're just harder to come by. So
absolutely.
There's the other side of it too. There's the employer who is looking at what employees are doing online. And that's a whole different conversation. That's probably not obviously you don't get hired by employees to paint a pretty picture or use social media to promote them. But, it's a fact. We look at what employees, people do that, and they want to know, what would it be like if I hired this person?
Are you kidding me? Like when social media first became relevant, and Google became more and more robust in the early 2000s, as a recruiter, I was searching for any piece of dirt or anything good on every single person I hired. I guess the statute of limitations be off, because I'm not necessarily legal or to get really fuzzy about that, but
Right.
it's the truth. And anyone that says they don't, then they're lying anyway. So, but you search for all that, and it's not as much now. It was when we first started, and definitely I was interviewed for a couple of things in like 2006, 7, 8, in that time frame, where people were warning college students and young professionals about what they posted online because it could hurt their career opportunities. And I haven't seen, I mean, that's not entirely true. I mean, there's stuff that's out there, but as social media is quote unquote matured, I've seen people and students be smarter about what they put online. I've seen parents be smarter about what they put on about their kids, and so on and so forth. So it's maturing. I don't see that as much of an issue, but I just go by one rule of thumb. If I wouldn't want my mother to see it, God rest her soul, I wouldn't post it online. And that's it.
That's my rule too.
That's my simple rule. And I think that's the easiest rule to follow there.
Something interesting I just heard of along the same line. It was on NPR the other day talking about college recruiters. Or not college entrants. When you go into a college, they're actually going and seeing what kids are doing, the benevolent side, and that's actually helping them tip the scale a little bit for them to get into some of the colleges. And I had never even I'd already,
even if they're involved in charity
if they're
work,
involved in charity or what they're doing, you know, the things that they're doing with athletics and all the extracurricular things that they're doing. That there's things like Harvard and Princeton. I mean, these huge universities that are looking into these profiles, and it's actually skewing them to the good. So it's not just them looking at the bad stuff. Yeah. So I think that's something else that's really cool. Talking about the maturing and what we use it for. Yeah.
And I think, and that's awesome that there's a lot of those things that are coming out, because I do see quite a bit of that, where people are like, I worked with, I'll say it because I won't mention the name, but I worked with a 12-year-old young man that was way beyond his years, and his parents hired me from a career perspective, but then also from a social perspective, because he was marketing an app. And I got to just know him and started to work with him. And what was very interesting that he was saying was, he's like, I want to build my legacy. And I was like, that's really odd when it comes out of a 12-year-old's mouth. But he's like off the charts, like smart, like it's like talking to a 30-year-old, 40-year-old even. And he's already got his college degree almost done. He's 14 now. Wow. So what was fascinating there is starting to work with him in 2015 was what he wanted the world to know about him. And you're like, what? And he just recognized, like, okay, it's like, so back in the day you had movies, radio, TV, and he just started putting all these pieces together. He's like, my medium and everything is going to be something online. It's accelerating so fast. Is it video? Is it blogs? Is it all this other stuff? And he wanted to formulate a strategy to market himself as this person so that he could market his app and do all this. And it was very fascinating, the thought process behind there, in the stuff that he wanted to post. And it was like talking to some of our, literally talking to some of our Fortune 500 companies about the strategy, like of how far out this young man was going. But the biggest thing was, I said to him, well, why do you want to do this? And he said, in 6-7 years, he's like, if I'm speaking at a university and I have my PhD, I want these people and these young people to go back and be able to see where I came from, so I could help them take them from one spot to the next. I was kind of blown away. Like every time I repeat that, I'm always like in awe of this young man, and hopefully you'll be able to see and hear about some of the stuff that he's doing soon. But that part where social media, and this ties into blue collar work, any type of work really, when you think about your business and you take what he said, and where do you want to see customers be? If you have long-term customers that you're doing more and more work for, if you start off and you just do a basic, you fix the faucet, but then you redo a bathroom, then you redo a kitchen, then you put an outside spa and like all these other things, you want to think in those terms where, hey, if I get a referral and it's just a 24-hour emergency type call, like, hey, I got to come out and fix a faucet, I want them to come back to my page and see that I do other work and I see that I've done other things. So a lot of those things tie into just a strategy, like not only the good stuff and coming back to the voice that we want to share online, not just cat videos, not just silly stuff, but give it a soul to a little bit of your marketing, and you'd be amazed how those things turn out. And it's nice to hear that colleges are looking at, 100% of a person rather than just looking at their grades. And you can apply that same type of thought to your business and make a social strategy out of it.
So that's really it. It's, the 12-year-old had it right. It is legacy. Yeah. It is, this stuff lives on forever. And as you look at ways to use social media, the more intentional you are, the less accidental and casual you are about its use, but the more you want to craft the story. And if you have a compelling company story, if you've built an amazing culture, why wouldn't you use social media to tell the world about that? What negative possible impact could that have for you, both in terms of reaching the right customer as well as reaching the right next employee and the next hire? And all of those things become, if what you've built is something you're proud of, the upside of social media is really pretty huge. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. It is huge, and people gravitate towards the cat videos, since we used that as an analogy earlier, because they'll be like, oh my God, this had like 1,000 shares in like 5 minutes. But they don't think about the long-term, piece of it, where somebody goes back and says, hey, I hired your company because I see you work with the United Way, and the United Way helped my younger brother years ago, and I just like to support companies that support things that's near and dear to my heart. We hear that all the time. Feedback forms and things like that, like, oh, why did you hire, in doing research for our customers, oh, well, we saw they're active in the community and we want to support our community. This is where I live. And that's what I love about social media, and I think why it's good for small business and any type of business, blue collar or otherwise, is that it's more community based than people realize. I think the internet's this vast thing, but most people communicate and still talk to the people that are 5-10 miles away from them, whether they're related or not. It's just nice that they have access to everybody else around the world, but they're really still really concerned about the day-to-day stuff in their own community, and that's the part I really love about it.
That's awesome. Marty, this has been a great conversation, and I know that there's going to be a few people out there that would like to contact you. Tell them where they can go to find out more and do that.
Sure. Well, I do two things on every podcast interview that kind of makes me stand out. It's also got me some weird phone calls. But one, you can go to our website and you can see everything, which is badrhinoinc.com. We have a great blog. There's a newsletter sign up that you can sign up for, and it's badrhinoinc.com. The second part is I even give out my email, which is Marty, MARTY, @badrhinoinc.com. Mention that you heard me on this podcast. Even if you have a simple question, I will get back to you. Might take me a couple of days, but just mention that you were on the you heard me on this podcast, and I will get back to you. We have a lot of great stuff on our blog, so take a look at it. It can help. We're big on education. We know that everybody's ready to be, outsource their social media for whatever reason, but we are big on educating business owners, because when they are ready, we want them to understand our philosophies and everything else.
Awesome. The last thing is, we always like to ask our guest for a quote that has meant something to them in their own journey. Maybe you can tell us what that quote would be for you and tell us what it means.
Can I give you two?
Sure.
One's really short. So the first one is, so from the time I was 12 until the time I got out of college, I was around 23, 24-ish. It took me a little while to get out of college. I worked for my uncle as a landscaper, and I worked pretty much 7 days a week when I was older. 3 days I was doing just crazy mowing grass all the time and putting in 12 hours. And then the other time I was doing hardscaping and landscaping and everything that goes along with that. And I remember my grandfather, World War II Depression era guy, right, comes up to me, and I'd worked close to about 72, 75 hours that week. And I'll never forget it because I can close my eyes and I can feel him. I was complaining, and he poked me right in the chest, like right below like where my heart is, my rib cage would be, right? And he goes, "You're soft." And I was kind of pissed at the moment. But I also, like, I was complaining about stuff like I shouldn't have been complaining. Here I am, I'm, 23, going back to finish up school. And I was just complaining it was hot, sweaty. I'd been working for 80 hours, and I was kind of like, I was like, I just worked like all summer, pretty much only had about 2 days off. And the last week that I'm doing this, I worked 70 plus hours. I'm hot, sweaty, and all this. But it just sets my mind right when I think about that. When I do complain about something, I live in what I consider the greatest country in the world with tons of opportunity. And he was basically telling me that, like, hey, you're soft, like, knock it off. Like, there's people that have it way harder than you. All you did was work, which you should do. And I always come back to that, thinking about that when something comes up and there's a challenge. I'm like, you're soft. And it's not to belittle myself or anything like that. It's just like, okay, take a deep breath and relax a little bit. The second one is from Colin Powell. And I just love it. I have a mug that a friend of mine gave, and it sits on my desk, and there's no secrets to success. It's the result of preparation, hard work, and learning from failure. Simple as that. And I can put everything in my entrepreneurial background and my business background right into that quote. I've never found a secret to it. There's little tips and tricks that I've learned along the way, that I've had mentors and coaches that taught me some things, but really it came down to me, whether I was prepared, whether I put the hard work in, and then wherever I made that mistake or I screwed up, I learned from it, and I try not to do that again. And that's the one that sticks with me as well.
That's good stuff.
That's good.
Marty McDonald, thank you for being on the show today.
Thank you. It was a great time talking with you guys.
I like Marty.
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if in the English Bulldog, Walter. That's great.
I know.
When you've got a good culture, share it. I mean, that's my thing and we try to do the same thing here. I'm proud of our culture. I love when I see it on social media. I love when what we're sharing gets engagement because people appreciate what they see about our culture, and they're drawn to that.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I'm. It's one of those things that I had to laugh because every time I leave the house, all my dogs look at me and go, "Are we not going to work today? What's the problem?"
Yeah.
So.
Well, here's my takeaway. It's just really simple. He said it at the very beginning, and it really stuck with me. To answer the answer, and it was so direct, which I appreciate. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's taking a blue collar mentality and applying it to a white collar profession.
Right.
But if you don't know where your business is really actually coming from, don't give me this BS about ROI with social media, because you don't know what you're talking about until you really know where your business comes from. You can't say for certain that social media doesn't have an ROI. Yeah.
I thought that was good. I think my biggest takeaway in this entire thing is that social media is a integral piece of your marketing. There's a piece there, and so you can do everything else and leave it out, but you're leaving out a piece that is really an integral part of your marketing today. And that goes to hey, suck it up and get online. Mm-hmm. Don't worry about it. You can craft what you want the world to see about you, but you're going to have to get out there and do something. Yeah. To say I'm just not going to do it is not an answer.
And what he said about 7 years ago, I would have said, you could probably sit it out if you really wanted to, although there's a great opportunity there. But today, if you're absent on social media, it's conspicuous.
Yeah.
You show up, people go looking for your social media presence as a company, and when they don't find it, they wonder, what are they hiding?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, so.
All right. Well, Proud Nation, if those were our takeaways, and we want to know what your takeaways were as well, you can do that over at the Blue Collar Proud Nation Facebook group. Just head over to Facebook, do a search for Blue Collar Proud Nation, find the group, ask to join if you're not already a member, get in there, and then look for the post that says Marty McDonald Episode Takeaways. And then add the takeaways. What did you learn from this particular show? When you share those takeaways with us and with others, you're helping others in our community learn quickly some of the things that they need to pay attention to. But just by the act of sharing it, just by simply writing it down and putting it there in the Facebook group, you are doing something that's like a neurological miracle. You're actually committing to an idea in your own brain and making that idea more real for you to be able to act on yourself. It works. I want you to try it. You can do that there in the Blue Collar Proud Nation Facebook group. Of course, you can also find out all about the other places that you can connect with us by heading over to our website. Just go to bcpshow.com/connect. That is it for this episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show. As always, Taylor and I want to thank you for listening. We also want to thank the people that make this show happen every single week. Thank you to Aaron Blaze, our technical director, Jessica Wynn, our show coordinator, and Jonathan Sanders and Karen Hatcher, our social media managers. Until next time, remember this: it takes the same amount of blood, sweat, and tears to build a business that you hate as it does to build one that you're proud of. So build it Blue Collar Proud.
The Blue Collar Proud Show is a production of the Blue Collar Proud Network.